So, in today's session, we will learn about the basic structure of a C program, which is also called as the anatomy of a C program. A C program usually includes header files, main function, and a few statements. These inside braces. Learning the basic structure makes it easier to read, code, and catch compile errors easily. So as we know, any programming language has a basic structure. Following the basic structure only, we can write any of the programming language codings. So in C program, the basic structure includes header files, main function, and statements. So starting with the header files, most programs begin with hash include stdio.h. So function like printf are available. Use only the headers we need. So the most common header file we use is the stdio.h. Full form of stdio is standard input output dot header file. So this header file basically is used to use any kind of printf function or scanf function or any gets or puts function. Basically, it is used for giving inputs and getting outputs from the system. Other than stdio, we also have conio, which is console input output dot header file. So this header file gives clear screen and get ch functions. So according to the coding, there are various types of header files which can be included. The next is the main function, which is the entry point. Execution starts main, and int main is the standard form of a single program. Return 0 for success and non-zero value for errors. So to indicate the starting of the execution, we use the main function. So in the main function, either we can give int main or we can give void main, and it should always return a value. So if it returns 0, then it is a success, and if it does not return anything, then it's an error. Third are the statements, blocks, and braces. Braces group statements and others define scope. Keep indentation constant and watch for missing brace or extra semicolon. So after giving the main function, the remaining coding of the program is given within the braces. The braces indicates the block of the code. Next, why do these small details matter? C is strict about syntax, types, and declarations. Compile often find fix warnings as soon as they appear. So why these details matter in C is because C is case sensitive and very strict about its functions and methods. So if we are using any C function, we should make sure that we are using it in a proper manner. Next, building blocks, the basic C program structure. Every C program follows the same core structure. Knowing these parts make code easier to write, compile, and debug. First one, header files. Header files provide declarations for functions, constants, and types. For example, hash include stdio.h gives access to printf. Include only the headers we need. Second one, the main function. Main is the program's entry point and should return an int such as int void main. Return 0. Keep main small and move reusable logic into other functions. Third, program Statements are the instructions your program execute and most end with a semicolon. Use clear names, correct syntaxes, and braces to define blocks. So to write a C program structure, we have to keep these 3 points very clear. One is the header file, two is the main function, and three is the statement. Whenever we are writing a statement, we should make sure that we are ending with a semicolon. And we are giving correct syntax, variable names, constant names, and so on. These three parts form the basic framework of a C program. Next, in preprocessor, we are having hash include headers, global declarations like variables and constants, main function, program entry point, function definition, reusable code. So these four components are divided into four parts and each part plays its distinct role. So first one is for including the header files. Second one is global declaration for giving our variables, constants, values, and so on. Third one is the starting of the execution, which is the main function. And the fourth one is function definition, which is writing the logical part of our program. So every program follows a predictable structure. Understanding it helps you write code in the right order. Compile time declarations come first and execution starts in main. This order keeps code reachable and easier to maintain. So whenever we are executing any C program, first of all we compile it, then we execute it. So if there is any error in our C program, that error is already shown at the compile time and we can already rectify it before executing it. Essential inclusions header files. Header files .h contain declarations for functions, constants, and macros. They tell the compiler what exists before implementation is seen. For example, include stdio.h to printf, int printf constant char format. This keeps declaration shared across files and helps with type checking. Best practice, include only header files you use and include them directly in the source file that needs them. This avoids hidden dependencies from transitive includes. stdio.h input-output functions like printf, scanf, and fopen. stdlib. stdlib is for standard library.header file used for memory conversions and process control like malloc, free, and exit. Math.h is a header file which includes math functions like square root, power, and some solid builds. So these are the three examples for header files. The gateway, understanding the main. So now we'll understand what is the main function. Every C program starts in main. It's the program's entry point and a common place to set up work, call helper functions, and return a success or failure code. So the main function is a point where the execution starts, the functions are called, and it returns a value. Mandatory presence. A C program must define exactly one main function. For example, int main return 0. Without it, the linker has no entry point. Use the exact name main, renaming it will only work if another main exists. So we have to keep in mind that whenever we are giving the main function, we have to give it in a proper way. As we know, C is a sensitive programming language. And if we are giving some other name to the main function, we should make sure that there is a main function existing in our program. Return type. Int main is the standard form. It returns 0 for success and non-zero value for failure. Avoid void main. It is non-standard in C. So whenever we are writing a C program, the return type should be return 0 if there is a success in the program, or else if the program has some errors or anything, then it will be a non-zero value. We should try to avoid void main because it is a non-standard form. Execution flow. The OS calls main first and other functions are called from there. Keep it focused on orchestration, not heavy logic. Move reusable work to helper functions like pass the input or process data. So whenever we are writing the execution or we are starting the execution, we should make sure that the function is light, like it should have the minimal coding. If its function is main function is having heavy coding, then the logic may not be working properly. So if you're having any reusable code, it is better to write those codings in functions rather than using it in the main function. So the operator or system directly executes the code from the main function. Main's return value signaling completion. So execute main, reach return, and exit code. So these three are the steps which are followed while executing the main function. When main ends, it returns an exit code to the operating system. 0 means success and any non-zero value signals an error or other status. Shells, scripts, and test tools use that value to decide whether to continue or stop. Always return a non-zero code when the program fails, even if you already printed an error message. So whenever we are writing a main method, we should always remember that we should return 0. Each main function return indicates the success of the program, and if it returns a non-zero value, it indicates that the program is having some error or maybe it is not executed properly. So let's see a simple hello program, which is the basic program of a C language. This classic program includes a header, defines main, prints a line, and returns a success code. It shows the basic structure of a C program from start to finish. If it works, your compiler, linker, runtime, and terminal are set up correctly. So the coding is hash include stdio.h, int main, printf, hello world, return 0, and the braces close. So hash include line makes printf available, main is the entry point, and return 0 signals success. Point 1. Hash include stdio.h imports the standard IO library so printf is declared correctly. Second, int main defines where execution starts. Int main void is also common when no arguments are used. Third, printf writes text to standard output. It also supports formatting such as %d and %s. So, fourth, Return 0 signals successful completion. Non-zero values indicate an error. So this simple hello world program, we can see that we have included a header file, main function, print statements and a return value. Header files, header files to include standard libraries for printf, main function to indicate the execution of code, printf to print the standard output, and return 0 to indicate the successful completion of the program. Now putting it all together, processor directives. Header files like stdio.h go to the top so the compiler can see needed declarations before compiling. Missing headers often cause warnings or errors for functions like printf. Common gotchas. Forgetting the right header for replying on code that works only on one compiler. Keep includes near the top and use only what you need. The main function. Main is the program entry point. A typical form is int main or int main int argc for common command line arguments. Common mistakes: using the wrong signature or putting too much code in main function. Keep it small and call helper function. Return values. Return 0 means success, non-zero values signals errors. Common pitfalls: returning success after a failure or using unclear exit mode. Use stderr for errors and keep codes consistent. These three pieces cover the basics of C program. Headers provide declaration, main starts execution, and return values report the result. Key takeaways. Structure is everything. A valid C program follows a clear order: directives, declarations, definitions, then main. Keeping that structure clean makes the code easier to debug. Header files are your toolkit. Include the right header so the compiler knows which function and types are available, such as stdio.h for printf and string.h for string length. Use only headers you need and keep them consistent across files. Missing headers can cause incorrect signatures or errors. Put declarations before use and include required headers to avoid warnings and compile errors. Main is the heartbeat. Main is the program entry point and should return an int. Use return 0 for success and a non-zero for errors. So at the last, we can see that the basic structure of the C program includes the header files, main function, and the statements. Basing on these three components only, we can write a C program including the header files we require, writing the essential coding, and also writing the essential statements required in our program. Also, we have to remember to give a proper return statement so that our code get executes successfully and we get the required output. All these things combined together only will help us to write a better coding. Thank you.